In this Fermi problem or Fermi question, we're going to estimate the number of vehicles that are driving on the Interstate Highway System of the United States Tuesday at 2 o'clock. Of course, Tuesday at 2 o'clock has no bearing on the problem. I just wanted to avoid any holidays or the weekends might be different, but just ordinary business day traffic on the interstate system. Fermi problems, there's no right answer known. And we create an answer, we create a guess, we create an estimate for the answer by piecing together various factors in the calculation. The overall method that I'm going to use is to uh, make an estimate, a calculation, but an estimate of the miles of roadway on the interstate system, and then make an estimate of how many vehicles there are on each mile of the roadway. So let's start our guesses here. I looked at a map on Google of the uh, interstate system. I did not expand it and look in detail, but just sort of surveying, it appears that perhaps there are six major east-west interstate highways, and I estimate that the average length is 2,500 miles. So that gives 15,000 miles of east-west highway. These uh, these numbers I'm putting out here are guesses, and as you do the Fermi problem, sometimes your guess will be too high. Hopefully, sometimes your guess will be too low, and those will balance out. What about in the north-south? Well, I estimated there are perhaps nine pathways north and south in the United States, 1,500 miles each, so 13,500 miles there. There are some interstates that run at angles and connect to the major east-west or north-south interstates. I complete guess here of 30 of those at 400 miles each, so 12,000 miles of roadway for that. And then around cities, there typically are some bypasses that circle the city. So let's say 70 of those, along with short connecting interstates from one system to another, and let's say just 40 miles for those. Complete guesses for these numbers at 2,800 miles. If I add all those up, I came up with 43,300 miles of interstate highway system. So that's a starting point. Now, on these miles, some are 2 lane, some are 3 lane, some are 4 lane, and more. So let's start to break this down. I'm going to guess that 2% of the total miles are in a major urban area with 4 or 5 or 6 lanes of traffic. And so 2%, I take 0.02 times the total miles, 43,300, 866 miles in the urban area, suburban with 3 lanes of traffic, and 10% of the total miles delivers 4,330 miles, suburban type roads, and 88% is left for a rural area where there are 2 lanes of traffic, and we end up with 38,104. I would suggest once in a while you pause the video and pull out your calculator and check to see if I've made any mistakes. Um, so the urban area, 866 miles of interstate with 4 lanes per mile. Let's say I'm ignoring 5 and 6 lanes, but just 4 lanes per mile. So that produces 3,464 miles of lanes of roadway. Um, in the suburban area, 3 lanes per mile, 4,300 roughly miles of interstate in the suburban area. So 12,990 miles of roadway. And in the rural area, 38,104 miles and 2 lanes per mile, so 76,208 miles of roadway there. And now we get to the number of vehicles per mile. Again, a guess. Uh, Perhaps if you're driving on the interstate with a passenger, that passenger could count the number of vehicles in a mile of your travel. Going the opposite way would be the easiest to do this. And I'm guessing 20 vehicles per mile. And 3,464 miles, so we get 69,280 vehicles all across the United States in urban areas Tuesday afternoon. It sounds a little bit low, but we'll go ahead. In the suburban, I'm guessing 14 vehicles per mile, and end up with 181,860 vehicles in the suburban area. And in the rural, 10 vehicles per mile, that might be a little high out in Wyoming or so forth, but produces 762,080 vehicles for all of the rural interstates in the United States. And if I add these up, it comes out over a million, a little bit over a million. And it's always good in these Fermi questions to round heavily your final answer. And so I would get about a million vehicles on the interstate highway system of the United States. Again, the number is not known. And in this example problem, I'm more highlighting the method. To solve Fermi questions, to get an estimate, come up with some method, how you're going to approach the calculation, and then this method, break down the factors as much as you can. So you make multiple guesses at different factors. Some will be too high, some will be too low. You might revise my guesses in each place and see what number you end up with. I don't think it'll be a lot different than a million. Hopefully my guess is okay. Ask 10 of your friends to do this, probably not. But that's how you answer a Fermi question. Come up with some basic method for doing the calculation, break down the factors in this method into multiple factors, and complete your calculation. If you want to see some other Fermi questions answered that I've come up with, you could go to physics.gpclements.com, and there's an index there where you can get a link to my YouTube videos. Astronomy website, .gpclements.com, and I don't collect any personal information. You do not register. It's all free. And you'll see descriptions of the videos and direct links to the YouTube so you can easily view those videos. Have fun.